What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well. I know I am, and I'm excited to share one of my budget decks that I have created. So a little bit about me: I really enjoy creating budget decks. I feel setting a limit for yourself and not going full out and buying the most powerful cards and putting in the most powerful decks is fun. I find enjoyment finding good deals online or at my local card shops and putting them in decks and maybe seeing stuff that you don't normally see. So this budget deck that I built is actually one of my first budget decks I ever created, and it is none other than Tesak, Judith Hellhound. So what Tesak is it is a legendary dog creature. It's a 3/3 for 4 mana, and it has Unleash. So what Unleash is when it enters, you may decide if you want to put a +1/+1 counter on it. If you do, it can't block. So it's just like a rampant dog. It's going to be attacking every turn. I mean, it doesn't have to attack, but I guess why wouldn't you? It also gives other dogs in your deck +1/+1, so you can also give them Unleash coming in. And then if they have counters on them, they come in with haste. The other big side about Tesak is whenever you are attacking other creatures plus Tesak, you get red mana equal to the amount of creatures that you have attacking. So this whole deck is designed around two things. One, dog tribal. Every creature in this deck is going to be a dog, except one, and I'll explain why that is, but everything else is going to be a dog. And the other thing is honing in on the combat trick side of things. So a lot of instants and things like that are going to be in this deck, countering dogs, making them stronger, and just going crazy on the board, hitting face as hard as I can. So overall, I think I spent about $15 to $20 in total on this deck. There are some more expensive cards, I'm not going to lie, within here. But I either pulled those from like packs, I got lucky, or like from another pre-con that maybe I didn't feel like it fit well and I put it into this deck. But overall, I didn't count like the price in that. Like these are just cards that I found and I picked up. If I got lucky on the deal, awesome. But in total, I spent about $15 to $20 on this deck. It's not one of my strongest decks by any means, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And I'm just proud of myself for creating, a budget deck, especially being my first one. So we'll jump right into it, and I will see you there. Woof, woof, woof. All right, so let's sniff around this deck and see what we have in store here. So T6 Judith Hellhound, like I mentioned earlier, it has Unleash. Unleash basically gives creatures +1/+1 when they come in, and they just can't block. That's the only downside with Unleash. Other dogs you have control also have Unleash, so they can enter a +1/+1. And then creatures you control with counters on them have haste. And then the big thing about Tesak is whenever it attacks, you add red mana for each attacking creature. So really the whole design behind this deck is attack with all your creatures, have big counters on them, do a lot of damage, and then during those combat phases, using that red mana to have combat tricks in terms of instants and things like that. So we'll jump into some of like the more basic things. So first, starting off with your artifacts, a lot of these are just going to be mana rocks and things like that. So we have like Commander Sphere. Also, just added this to help with card draw. Fire Diamond to help with red mana. Patrick mana, since it is a tribal dog deck, this is a great card within there because it all gives all the creatures of a chosen type +1/+1, and you can add mana of any color. Instruments of War, just buffing your creatures too. So very similar to Patrick Banner, you're giving your dogs +1/+1. And then Mind Stone just for mana, and then if I ever need to draw a card, it's always helpful to have that as well. Some of the enchantments in this deck. So Leyline Resonance. So because you're going to be casting a lot of instants during your turn, if you get this early on, this is basically just going to be another way to help boost your instants and hopefully add them to other dogs later on down the road. So Leyline Resonance, if it is in your opening hand, you can actually put it on the battlefield for free. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single creature you control, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for it. So if you're buffing your creatures, like playing +3/+3, you can actually add that to other creatures as well. So very strong. This is actually new from the Avatar set. It has flash, and then this enchantment enters with X counters on it, or fire counters. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus the amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on the enchantment. So with all that red mana that you're casting during those big turns, it's kind of like an ender. You're going to throw this down. Hopefully you have a lot of creatures attacking. You can put all those counters into this and hopefully deal that much damage. And then Instruments of, or Goblin War Drums, I don't know why I'm saying Instruments of War, but Goblin War Drums just gives all your creatures mana, so it makes them harder to block them coming in. This side, this is going to be more of like helping with card draw and things like that. So Outpost Siege, it's an enchantment. When it enters, you choose one or the other. Most of the time, I'm choosing cons. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may pay that card. So it's just like another way for card draw. That's kind of how red draws cards. So wanted to add that. Big score. Additional cost to cast this spell. You have to discard a card, but you draw 2 cards and you get 2 treasure tokens. Light Up the Stage has Spectacle. You may cast this card for its spectacle cost rather than mana cost if opponent lost life this turn, but then you exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until end of next turn, you may play those cards. Jessica's Will, this is pretty much a staple, but I had this in another deck from like a pre-con. Didn't feel like it worked well in here, so I actually threw it in this one. But Jessica's Will is definitely a very strong card. And then Caesar Spoil is very similar to Big Score, but as an additional cost, you have to discard a card, but then you draw 2 cards and you just create 1 treasure. Now, diving into the actual puppers. So, of course, I put the only dog that is, or the only creature that's not a dog, but it's Thundering Raiju. It works very well in this deck, though. It has haste, and then whenever Thundering Raiju attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. If you have creatures coming in with Unleash, this is going to be basically doing damage because hopefully your dog's going to be having Unleash with those +1/+1 counters. And Modified just means they have counters or they're enchanted in some sort of sense. Now, the rest of these ones are dogs. I'm not going to dive too much into them, just mostly that they're going to be dogs. This one, you can actually put it on another creature and enchant it. This one, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player, if they have 2 or fewer cards, it deals damage to that player. Bloodhound, whenever you are dealt damage, you may put +1/+1 counters on Bloodhound. At the end of your turn, you remove all those counters. Scrapyard Mongrel, as long as you control an artifact, it gets +2/+0 and has Trample. Has Mobilize, and then this creature's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. That Mobilize is also very cool because if you're attacking during that turn, obviously you're getting more creatures, so it's always a nice to have. This, whenever it comes blocked or is blocked by another creature, it deals 1 damage to that creature. Bolt Hound is going to buff all your doggies when they're attacking. Molting Soul Eater. A Molting Soul Eater gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. You can pay life or mana for that. Pryhound has Trample, and then whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery, you put a +1/+1 on it. You're going to be doing that a lot, so hopefully this creature will get big. During Courage, this card is going to be, whenever a creature comes in, you get +2/+0 and it gains haste until end of turn. But when it dies, you can actually use it as an enchantment, so it stays on the board. So a pretty strong effect from Enduring Courage. This one just has Double Strike. This one has Escape, and then if it escapes, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. It's nothing too particular. It can attack or block alone, so it's going to be attacking with other creatures. Lava Hounds, it hurts you when you come in, but just another doggo. It's for all my Japanese fans out there, but this one has Menace. You can actually equip it onto another creature. It buffs it, and then it also gets Menace as well. So you basically put it on another dog and give it Menace and buff it with a 2/2. It can also attack itself, though, as well. Mad Dog, at the end of your turn, if Mad Dog didn't attack, it dies, so you have to make sure that it's attacking. Pack Mastiff, you can pay 2, and each creature you name Pack Mastiff gets +1/+0. This one has Menace. Whenever you cast a spell other than your first spell, you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. Chandra's Magmuck, you could tap in and deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Iron Mastiff, this one you roll dice. If you get 1 through 9, you deal damage equal to power to you, so it hurts you. 10 through 19, Iron Mastiff deals damage equal to the power to defending player. And then if you roll 20, it deals damage equal to the power to each opponent. Wildfire Cerberus becomes monstrous. It deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature your opponent controls. It has Landfall, and then whenever you place a land, it just gets +2/+2. You can pay it and it has fire breathing. When this creature enters, you exile the top card of your library and you can play until the end of the turn, so very common in red. And then whenever you cast your second spell each turn, this creature gains double strike. This one also has menace and it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 rat. Sterling Hound lets you surveil. Gold Hound, you can tap it and you can add mana, but it's mostly first strike and menace. Igneous Crew, you can pay 2 and you get +2/+0 until end of turn, so buffing itself. Scrapyard Monk enters the battlefield. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. Carnival Barker is actually not commander legal. My pod doesn't care though, but basically what happens is you have 30 seconds to show off a creature and get people to clap. And depending on how many people claps, it gets +X/+O, where X is the number of people that applaud it. So dumb. But it's a dog. I saw it and I'm like, this is going to fit. Again, this is not commander legal. So if I was playing probably with people I didn't know, I wouldn't add this. I have other dogs I can put into there, but I thought Carnival Barker was funny. Tauren Mars, technically not a dog, but it's a shapeshifter, so I guess it is. And then whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 on it. And then finally jumping into some of the instants and sorcery. So a lot of these are going to be combat tricks. So this one, it gives target creature +3/+3 until end of turn. Flick a coin, you deal 1 damage to any target, and then you get to create a treasure, and you draw a card. Comet Storm, you choose any target, then you choose another target for that creature. If this spell was kicked, Comet Storm deals X damage to each. So again, you're hopefully using a lot of mana to do this and doing a lot of damage. Dogpile, the more doggies you have, the more damage it deals. A Braid, you're doing 3 damage or destroying an artifact. Whoopsies. This one you just deal 5 damage to any player or planeswalker, so pretty basic there. Lunar Frenzy, you're just buffing it depending on what you pay for X. Barge in is buffing and they get trample until end of turn. Mob Rule, this one's actually pretty cool. You can either choose one or the other. You gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater until end of turn. Untap those and they have haste and when they're attacking. Or you can do the opposite, 3 or less, you gain control of all those. So this is more of like an ender. There's a lot of things on the board. You're playing this and hopefully having a lot of mana to doing some of those combat tricks and do crazy stuff. Giant Strength, you're just enchanting a creature, giving it +2/+2. Burst Lightning, if you kick it, it deals more damage, which hopefully you're going to be doing. Skullcrack, this is going to help something, either dealing damage to a creature and not letting it block, or hopefully a target player. Reckless Charge, just buffing on your creatures, giving it +3/+0. +3/+0 on first strike until end of turn. You either destroy a target artifact or buffing your creatures. If you can get the theme, you're going to be buffing your creatures a lot or just doing direct damage. It deals 1 damage to target creature and then it can't block, and you also draw a card. Shock, just deal 2 damage to any creature or target. Play with Fire, deals 2 damage to any target. If it's a player you dealt, you describe 1. And then finally, Brute Strength, target creature gets +3/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. And then the mana base, I have 36 lands in here. They're all just common mountains. Again, this is a budget deck, so I didn't really want to go over. So yeah, that is my Tesak Judith Hellhound Dog Tribal deck. Again, not one of my strongest decks that I created, but it's definitely something that holds a special place in my heart, just because it is the first budget deck that I ever created. I usually go under $20 is what I'm shooting for with any budget decks, and again, this is the first one, and so it's always going to hold a special place in my heart. Just something about going to like your local card shop and digging through those bulk bins, or going on TCG Player and scrounging through that website to see if you can find anything. It's just so much fun, and I see a lot of cards that I maybe never even seen before, and I'm like, hey, this could potentially work in the deck. Let's throw it in there. My next video is going to be like my Iro deck. It's going over the Avatar set and this Iro deck that I built that has all Avatar cards in there, and it's a budget deck. It's also under $20. And I'll be going to the card shop showing how I did that and TCG Player. So stick around for that. But also make sure to comment and like. Let me know if you like making budget decks, what commanders you use, or what your budget or limit is with those type of things. And also make sure to subscribe and follow. I'm actually going to be shooting for 100 subscribers on this channel. Once I do, I'll actually be doing a giveaway as well. All you have to do is subscribe, and then once I hit that threshold, I'll be doing an announcement basically letting you know how you can enter and win that giveaway. But again, if you enjoy this content, definitely let me know, and I will see you on the next one.